woke up. So, Mhm. Okay. This morning we were talking about something that's it's the first time I've been so clear in it, is in relationship with Israel, and it's how to keep everything clear while not suppressing or being in denial. And we were talking about how certain situations were handled in the last months. It was really just a month. It was really like just 5 or 6. It's
This
really.
feels like
I was
years.
listening to our video and I was like, really, Israel? That was only five weeks or something, but you were like the past 3 months. Um, but what I wanted
It's
to
true,
say,
isn't it? It's true.
yeah,
It's felt like a long time.
what I wanted to say in this relationship with Israel is that I feel like because it was joined in soul first, which that's a whole nother story, but we met in dream state first, so it is, and like that wasn't done by me, it was just like, so, it was like we've been joined on a soul level, and we were given the plan of like, this is a monogamous relationship. Yes, in time you will be doing body work and the deeper work with people, but as far as sexually, it's a monogamous relationship. And I think spirit, I really feel like if I am in my own knowing, is because Christ is pure, unhindered, and personal sexual energy. And so, like, we'll be working in the currents of that, and yet the grounds of our relationship is monogamy. And I really feel like that keeps everything clear in some way. Or
Hmm.
for in our path. Other people, it's different, but in this path, I think that's why that's the plan given. But it's also the first relationship ever, I think, that I've not I think I know that, in especially in the last 6 weeks, I was able to relax totally into trusting God's plan of like, love is the one that gave this relationship the purpose. So now I can surrender what I'm feeling, this part, because I'm not trying to protect or trying to defend this relationship or trying to like make it something it's not. I was able to just relax. And so with this person, this friend that came in, I know this being from another life of like, that we were in a romantic relationship, I've known him many times, and Israel's known him too. So it's like we go way back. And so in all communication with this person, um when I would say, like, I can hear, like, I can feel what you're saying, I would make it clear of like, this is a part. Like, now I'm in this life, and now I'm in relationship that's unshakable. Like, this isn't going anywhere. Um, but especially like 3 days ago, Holy Spirit said, you have to allow this part of you that got suppressed lifetimes ago and is like so happy to see this person is safe because something happened in another life. Like, fully allow her to express herself, fully allow her to say what she wants to say, but speak to it as a part. And so, like, I was able to be into Israel too. I was able to say, like, this part of myself, this aspect of me is so happy to see you. This aspect of me is so happy to see that you're safe. This aspect of me wants to give you the biggest hug. This aspect of me does love you. You know what I mean? And that's, I think, like, that's where these like kind of trauma glitches happen in other lives, of like like tension in the body mind, and all this stuff comes up to heal. And as I was able to say that and invite Holy Spirit into it, it's like everything came really clear really fast of like, now he's completely out of our field. Israel was saying this morning he can feel him on the periphery, like like waiting or observing. But I've invited Holy Spirit to, this goes all the way to the root of myself, like 100%. So I'm not holding out secret hope or anything like that. 100% that I only want relationships in my life that are devoted, like, as far as closeness, like my closest friends are devoted to the truth. You know what I mean? The people that I spend the most time with or devoted to the inner work. So I only want this being to one day come back into my life if his deepest commitment is to awaken to soul, and that it's and if that's true, it would be all of us would feel it. You would too, it would be all of us. And like I was telling Israel, because we were talking about like if the roles were reversed, like when Israel comes, they were going to have coffee together. Like I would want it to be all of us were, um, we're devoted to one thing, and it's that inclusivity of holy relationship. But I do not want him to be back into my field or us to be in relating if it's our parts that are relating, and unless he's devoted to the truth, um, he would still be coming from parts, so it wouldn't be
Mm.
aligned or healthy.
Mm.
What do you feel to share?
Yeah, thanks, Lauren. It's a good sharing, you know. These little selves, like Joshua calls them the little selves, doesn't he? He calls them the lost sheep, the little selves, that we kind of have to shepherd in some way back into wholeness within ourselves, and I like hearing your share it's like I really understand that in some instances these little selves need to complete their journey through the experiences that they're having, or have had, and got stuck, they've got stopped, they've got held back, in some way from completing that. Maybe someone's passed on into spirit and they never got to say what they wanted to say, or they've had a deep shock to the system and they haven't been able to process that emotion. And I think this is the kind of stuck psychic material that ends up embedded in the body from the history of the soul, from ancestral lines as well. It gets compounded and held down. And these little selves, I get that they need the space and the safety to express. Um, Equally, what I hear you describing is this disidentification from them. It's like you're holding the space of self, of love and Christ, who can give that space, right? And communicate it, that there's a part that wants to express, as opposed to being so immersed in the part that it's self. And I think
You
that's where the
think
real
it's who
that's
you are, yeah.
yeah, exactly. And that's where it gets really confusing, and things do go awry, I think. If you were to express as yourself and felt as yourself that you were holding these feelings, right, towards this other, I think that would have been deeply confusing to the connection that we have, right? It's like how can you reconcile the self wanting this and that? Like if love is
And
holding this together, how can it be pulling you over there? Do you know what I
yeah,
mean? Does that make sense?
it does make sense. And I never did fall into that, the whole time. And it really shocked me. And that's how I know this is love's plan, like my relationship with you and how it's showing up, because I didn't have to like be like, there was no doubt or like it was like unshakable of like there was nothing that I created that was holding on. It was just like, oh, this is. And so that made it possible to just be like, this is a part that wants to say this to you. But if I had denied that or suppressed it, it would still be kicking and screaming in the base of my
Mm,
body of like, you're not listening to me. You're not. It had to say that, and I think the only safety is in Holy Spirit. It is in the guidance that comes through Holy Spirit, and in that last 24 hours, like, you know, it was fully allow this part to express, fully feel everything that she wants to feel, just fully allow her to complete. And
mm.
that's what happened. That's really what happened.
That's really beautiful, to give her that opportunity and space. Like, and how difficult would that have been if you'd been identified with her?
Yeah.
Like, if you hadn't been holding the space for that aspect of yourself, essentially, Like, but imagining that was you, I wonder if that's even possible. Would it, whether it would have been possible, or whether it would have been too threatening or confusing, not to
Yeah.
have that context.
I think that's the difference when you're like, really, I really just feel like it's in the holy relationship. Everything is, and also how Joshua says our parts to speak to them as they are, like, not to identify with them, but speak to them as a part, as this part of myself, this aspect of myself.
Mm,
And in Way of Mastery, he talks about like welcoming them onto your lap like a mother would a child. Like, what do you have
mm.
to say?
It's so
And
beautiful.
yeah, you're the one that has like helped me integrate that because you do that so well. But like this part would have just like not been quiet if I had just been like, no, we're not going to do that. Nope, we're not going to say that. Nope, we're not going to, like just push it down,
Mm,
push it down, push it
yeah,
down.
yeah,
Mm,
yeah. And of course, my experience was that I have a corresponding part, and it's been interesting to witness how my part sees only that level of creation that Lauren's part is operating from. It doesn't get the bigger picture. It doesn't understand, So in that part, which is a young part of me, who was witnessing this part of Lauren expressing in that way, there was a big catalyzation of fear, you know. And I think, in all honesty, you've done a far better job of holding the space of love and Christ in this, because I've been very identified with that until probably last night, I think, when I felt this other being move back. It's felt like it's taken some of the density of my experience away, so that like today and last night, I feel like I'm able to start holding myself again, so they're kind of swimming in that field of identified terror, but it's like that now is very beautiful because these parts have been so profoundly highlighted for me. It's like I can feel them, see them. I know exactly where they are. I know exactly the density of energy that they exist in, and for me now there feels like this embrace. It is welcoming them onto my lap. I connected with a little inner child who was like 6 years old, who was convinced that this relationship was finished, and that you just hadn't quite figured it out yet, and you would, and that you'd be telling me, soon, and was dealing with that, and he was like trying desperately to be a grown up. He was so desperately trying to be an adult in all of this. This poor little 6-year-old boy, who was just like shocked and frozen in terror, desperately wanting help and support, and I've managed to reach him last night and hold his hand and pull him in and sit him on my lap, and just say it's okay. You're not actually alone. It's like I know you felt so very alone, but I'm here, and because that connection's made. I mean, even if there was a dissolution of our connection through the grace of God, which I don't feel happening or see happening, but if there was, it's like I know I can be there for that part because I
yeah.
found him. It's like he was a lost sheep and I didn't know where he was. And it was only through actually the intensity of this experience that I've been able to find him in the wilderness of my
Maybe
mind.
why you called this directly to yourself and me too. Like we called this in.
Wow, yeah. I mean, it's of course, yes, of course. Why else? I mean, it's like everything is an opportunity for healing, and healing is deeper connection with self, right, with these parts, so that they can be welcomed in. And that part was so desperately wanting you to give the reassurance, right? And it didn't matter what you said. It didn't matter how many times you told me you felt safe in this dynamic with me. It didn't matter how many times you could send me a heart or express. Do you know what I mean? Because it whatever it was, it just felt as empty inside him, because he's committed to his story, and B, he can't change that at that in that way. It's like he can't receive it. It has to come from within. He has
Yeah.
to, I have to make that connection with him so that fundamentally he can shift.
And what I want to speak to the holy relationship is, I wish I had the words written out because it's so beautiful, but it's about inclusivity, it's about honesty and vulnerability and transparency, which is the opposite of what the ego wants, which is specialness and exclusivity
Exclusivity,
and all these things.
secrecy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
secrecy and all these things. And
Yeah.
I think that's been such a gift here. And also, when like the guidance along the way was like what the final result of all this is unification. Like in the dream, if you were operating from the dream, or like if you were gonna feed these parts, it would lead to separation and more dreaming and more just playing out patterns over and over and over. But because mine and your commitment is truth, and in the plan that was given by love for our relationship, it's like, oh, well, like it all dissolves in the light, and
Mm,
this
mm,
person, won't be a part of it unless he's committed to the same thing, like love and truth and sharing and inclusivity, and we'll see, we'll see where that is. But one of the things that I was really like happy about is like y'all going to coffee together, or that it's all, it's everybody is a part of it. You know what I mean? It's not,
mm.
but we'll see how that unfolds. But yeah, so
Yeah.
do you feel like this? What do you feel like this might be complete?
I wonder if we want to talk about the dynamic that we saw with control and
Oh,
the aversion and resistance to control, the rebellion
yeah.
against that, and the masculine and the feminine, and the core wounding.
Yeah, I'll say that when Israel was in his part, and I knew it was a part, this part inside myself, this one that I describe as uh she feels numb in my belly, and she will put up a wall. She was also the one, if you saw the video yesterday, that was just like fuck you to Israel. Like because like she can start to feel when his part is activated, and she reacts to that, and she's like, I will not be controlled, I will not, like she just like just wants to tear everything down if she starts to feel the energy of someone trying to hold her back, And so, and what I want to say is like, in the light, she knows she's safe. Like in the light, like if I just welcome her into the light, she knows freedom is there. She knows she's not actually being controlled, and then I can actually ask what she truly wants. And what she truly wants is to operate from soul, so like she feels safe in me. But when she feels his parts and stuff, I have to really be with her, because it's like he has no like his part is not trying to control you, or whatever. So
Mm,
that's my experience of.
yeah. Yeah, I think, my part, if he feels that there's a threat to the dynamic, to the relationship, like there's a deep insecurity in him that wants to reach out for reassurance. And that's kind of like the first stage, and if that's not met, and Lauren's really good at not meeting that all the time, actually. She's like, "Mm, no." And I'm like, what? you know. But there's this desire in him to close you down, right? It's like wanting to put you in a box, and then putting that box in a box, and putting that box in another box, and chaining it up, and just having you like secure, because of that deep insecurity within self here. Like, I need to make you secure because that part is projecting you are the source of his love. Like, you're the source of safety, you're the source of love. It's classic dynamic, but when I feel it, like what's underneath that is just this desperate pain, you know and it's this is an attachment style. Right, this is in that that system psychology, and they play together. Like the more I reach out, in my anxiety and fear, the more your part is like hell no and avoidant, so then we have this dynamic. It's like I'm chasing you along and you're like, I don't think so. you know
But the
and then
great thing, yeah, go ahead.
um yeah, I want to say that you obviously your corresponding part, and you have parts that work in the opposite direction as well as I do. I'm not, I have my parts that can be avoidant. In fact, that was a big part of our relationship, was breaking all that down. um but this is where we're at right now. But when I really feel into that part, it's like, and I was tuning into that this morning with Jeshua, and he's saying, yes, you call it these different attachment styles, but the root of it comes from the false perception of separation. That's the root. These are the dynamics that we create to try to fulfill ourselves, and to try to prevent ourselves and protect ourselves from feeling the pain of the initial rupture in
Mhm.
self, the initial schism, like the cutting of the soul in half that we've imagined.
Yeah.
That is the belief in separation, and that's in a way, he says, that's why it hurts so much to to feel these things. But that's where the true healing is, as well, in the depths of that, to get to the knowing that that hasn't actually happened. And that's where Christ is. That's where safety is, right?
Yeah, and the good thing about, to me, a relationship that's committed to this, each within their own self, is like we meet every day and we share what's coming up, and we hold this space together. So it's like safety in self of like I felt like throughout it, like I felt heard. I didn't feel projected on. It's like we're holding space for each other to go to the depths of self, like knowing the other can't fix it. The other can't,
Hmm.
but we can, hold space together and uh, share in that.
Yeah,
I
I
think
think
that's,
that's true. We do manage, on the whole,
yeah.
I'd say, to support one another in that way. Um, and I notice in myself these kind of subtle tilts into just noticing. It's like, what's the energy behind my communication? It's like I'm reaching out. One of my classic ones is to offer unsolicited reassurance to Lauren, right? It's like, because that's what I want to receive back, right?
Yeah.
So I offer, and then if I don't get it, like I can tilt the other way and be like, oh, all right then, I'm just gonna, yeah, yes, yes, 5 o'clock, yep, no problem. Okay, yeah, bye then.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like, there's these two, and there's this middle place. And I'm kind of just coming back to that, I think, from this experience that we've been having over the past 16 years. Um, however long it's been, it feels like
5
that.
weeks.
5 weeks,
5 weeks.
that's it,
Yeah.
5 weeks. I got confused there. But just coming back into that, because there is a genuine expression of love, and within that is the capacity for romanticism. Within that is the capacity for joyfulness. Within that is
Let's
the
speak. Can we
is
speak to that really quick? That love, like this is what we've learned and what feels true intuitively. Like love can be like when we're in a state of love, it can express as a beautiful candlelit dinner, or like it can express as like really sweetness, but
holding
it's
your hand, just
holding, yeah, holding one's hand. When it comes from love, it's very clear and just an extension and just a beautiful expression of joy.
mm,
When it comes from egoic, which is how probably most of the world operates, is like, unless they're doing this deeper work, when it comes from ego, it's a romanticism that like the egoic self is first. You know what I mean? It's not love informing it. It's the egoic self is first and is wanting to get something or something.
Mm,
And that's what with this person, I could feel it was parts. And that's why I was saying this is a part, that, when he was feeling these things or whatever, I'm like, it's a part. And I know I hear you, but it's a part, it's not actually coming from the wholeness of self or anything like
mm,
that.
mm,
Um, so I wanted to just say that like it
mm.
doesn't mean when you're in holy relationship that there's no beauty or no.
Yeah, I think that that can be a real misnomer sometimes in the spiritual mind, that it
Yeah.
becomes, kind of, yes, we're just sitting there with God and we don't do anything. And, it's like, that it's like everything's the same, right? It's like, it reminds me of that simple little poem, before enlightenment, chop would carry water. After enlightenment, chop would carry water. It's like the action is the same. It's actually, but it's what's the motivation behind it. It's like because the ego will always come from lack, and I have such compassion for that. It's always going to come from lack, and it's always going to be unfulfilled, you know, in whatever it does, because
Yeah.
it can't receive anything from what's out there because there's nothing out there. It's just poor thing. I mean, just when I look at it like that, it's like, oh my God, what have I done to myself, But the same expression, like just simply holding your hand, for example, can come from that lack. It's like, I need to hold your hand in a moment. I need you to feel a certain way about this. I need to convey something to you through the holding of your hand. I need to make sure that I love you through me holding you. Do you know what I mean? Because there's lack expressing within me, as opposed to the expression of love being, really simply, it just cuts through all the story. It's like, I'm just holding your hand, and isn't this joyful?
Yeah, and I need
Right?
nothing back. I'm just holding
Yeah,
your hand because it's
exactly, exactly. But
yeah,
there's
it's
a communication of heart and soul that doesn't require
yeah,
anything else, and doesn't try to get or deliver through it. Often the delivering is an attempt to get,
yeah,
you know.
yeah. Oh,
Ah, all
yeah.
right. Well,
Okay.
I think that's probably it.
I think so too. Okay. All right.
Thank you.